Susie Wrong.
Joy Drive with Dee and Warren's film, TV and theatre reviewer.
Susie Wrong, have we got you on the phone?
Happy New Year and Happy New Roo to the both of you.
Happy Roo Year, we're saying around these parts, Susie Wrong.
So was it your first time dipping into the Roo pond, Dee?
Yes, I popped my Roo cherry and I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I mean,
Did
it's
you
not.
Think that you would?
I didn't think I would because, you know, when you've left something a little bit too long and everybody else has enjoyed it for like 12 seasons, and I thought, and I think I had wrongly, and this is my own prejudice, allocated it to the gay men pile. I thought, they're all into that. But no, it's got much more to interest me than I thought. I'll tell you what I did find. I found it a tiny bit repetitive.
Well, it is a new format because I think they always try to find new ways to do the show. And with the first episode of the season, they've made them lip sync in pairs. So the whole hour was sort of dedicated to lip syncing, which is a new thing, which is repetitive. Yeah.
Susie, I sat down last night and I was really excited to sit down and watch it. I only watched a part of season 2, I think it was, back then. And I sat down and I tell you what, I really enjoyed having almost an hour of not thinking about anything else and laughing at, and I'm sorry, vegans, the pork chop and the squealing pig. It was hilarious.
Yeah, and you don't even know the context of it. Pork Chop was the first contestant ever to be kicked out. So, so it was about the first to be out, which is always embarrassing. Yeah.
Which is why there's a pork chop loading dock.
That's right. And it's interesting that, Dee, you were thinking that it might be a very gay man space, and that is a real, hot button issue. It's a real matter of consternation, because for many years they've been talking about a very low number of trans representation, and I would talk about it in terms of a very low number of female representation, because drag, when it first started, especially, more than 10 years ago, that drag was still thought of as a very exclusive gay male space, but this show in particular has pushed the boundaries so much, and I think you would see like the way that they do drag. So many of the young people doing drag these days, they're doing it so differently from what we knew it to be in the clubs, all those years ago.
Well, go on.
The boundaries has been pushed so far that that those old rules about you have to be a cis gay man to do drag, those are all no longer appropriate.
Well, I know that for 11 years, Roo was saying, "Gentlemen, start your engines," and may the best woman win. And Roo has changed that to say, "Races, start your engines," and may the best drag queen win. So I guess that's a big step forward.
Yeah, that's been removed. And the first few years, they've had this thing called Ding Dong, you've got she-male, and that's been removed as well. So these little things have evolved, and it's good that the show is trying to evolve. This year, very excitingly, there is a trans male contestant for the first time, so that's exciting.
That's
last year, Gottmik, who's fantastic, and last year in UK they had a very camp male contestant who turned out to be in a long-term relationship with a woman, so I don't know if he's straight or he's bisexual. So all those things are changing, and it's good that they're allowing it to change. I hope to see cisgender women get into the mix as well at some stage.
Yeah, of course. It should be open to everybody. I mean, it's a performance art, isn't it, really? But it does seem to be deeply steeped in gay male culture, and I felt that when they were, what do they call it, unpacking, when they sort of, because I had to have a sneak peek at next week, when they sort of... Untuck, that's it. When they untuck and become their normal street personas, and they're all checking each other out as men, I thought, yes, it's very heavily gay male, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it started out that way, but there's so many forces trying to change it, because it has tried to change things. The idea of Rupaul, the whole Rupaul enterprise is about changing the way we look at gender and sexuality and how we live in Western societies. And Rupaul has been so successful, but now it's time for Rupaul to change the way he thinks about things.
One of the things, we're talking to Susie Wrong. We've watched season 13, the first episode of Rupaul's Drag drag race last night. Susie, one of the things that I liked and I found quite refreshing was there were a couple of people, Unica Queen in particular, and I liked the way that she wants to spread smiles. And there was also Olivia Lux, who likes to light up a room. And I thought it was really great because I've always associated drag with some nastiness. And I think there were a couple there that were nasty. And I think they used the word shade coming from, was it Kimora Hall? But those two I liked in particular. And I'm not going to spoil it as to whether they get through to the next episode or not. But it was really refreshing to see that there are some people who just want to entertain and have fun.
Yeah, Gen Y and then the millennials are doing drag in such a different way, especially because it presents itself as a competition format. So every year that it comes around, and last year there were 4 seasons of it. So every time it comes around, we want something new. We want it to push further. We want to see drag that is done in a way that's never been done before. So these young people have been incredibly creative, incredibly inventive, and finding new ways to think about drag, think about gender, think about performance. And that is the power of this series. It's not about men dressing up as women anymore. It's much more than that.
And I've got to say that the generation gap is patently clear. You know, when you see the older queens, they seem to have a very traditional queen look and vibe, and sort of not just aesthetic but vibe, and then the young
like
cool
Tina
ones.
Burner.
Yes, Tina Burner. Well, and they're all a bit kind of I've been here since before the war, and they're all sort of what you said before.
Yeah,
Christ.
one of them was quite nasty because felt that didn't like the fact that one of the younger ones
only worked for a year.
Had only worked for a year and did very well. But we don't want to spoil it. But I mean, the other thing I realised is many of these queens have had struggles in their life as well, and to get through that and to use those struggles to want to entertain and have some fun, I thought was really good.
Yeah, there's a part of the reality competition format. There's always a sob story behind, the ones that you sort of invest emotionally. And, Tamisha Iman, I'm very excited about because she's, a contestant in her 40s, which is not a usual occurrence on the show. And she's just come back from cancer and instantly I'm aligning myself with her.
I've got to say, though, when Tanisha got up and then the cancer story came out, I thought, oh, it's all over. No spoilers.
Yeah.
I thought, well, imagine being up on
thinking the
stage
same.
about to go head-to-head with Tanisha and the bowel cancer, and you just wouldn't fancy your chances. But anyway, we won't say what happened. I don't know that I've watched the entire 13th season, Susie Wrong, but my partner who has watched all of them said, oh, great, I'm so glad you're into it. Let's go back to season 1, episode 1 tonight. And I went,
Well, Dee, it's interesting you say that because after season 2 I thought, oh, you know what, I'm not into this anymore. But after watching last night, I can't wait to see the next
I do have to see
episode
what happens now.
and watch it all. I've got one question that I want to ask, and I will lose my gay card by asking this. What does Shantae mean? Shantae.
I don't know what it is literally, but she says, Shantae, you stay,
That's right.
or sashay away. Sashay away. Yeah, so it's these 2 catchphrases that she uses. I don't know what the origin of it is, but I know that word was in RuPaul's original Supermodel single from like 1992 or something. So it's part of their vernacular, if you will, that has lasted through time.
Just on that vernacular, Susie Wrong, I was thinking about the parallels between this and the Pose, because we're obsessed with Pose here.
Yeah.
And just it made so much more sense of RuPaul, the phenomenon, in my brain, because I just thought he was some bitchy queen that had come up with this contest. But now that I see that it's all drawn from that, the houses and all that kind of stuff, it makes more sense to me. I feel like I've got the sense of that. And also, she didn't strike me as a bitchy queen. It seemed quite like he was quite amused by the performances and quite supportive of them. And there was nothing mean about the process. I thought it was quite relieving, because I just, as a gay woman in clubs in the 90s, I felt that I was quite intimidated by drag queens.
Me too.
And I always found them a presence that was a bit scary for me. So I think it's really good to, have it in this lighthearted way.
I agree. And
there's a beautiful tension in the Drag Race series where they understand that tradition of drag queens being really bitchy and mean, and that being sort of the sort of most memorable factor about drag queens, but also they know that their audience is very broad. They know that their audience is very wide. Like when I go see a Drag Race show, live in Sydney, you get tons of young women. So they know that they're like, almost children watching it. So RuPaul's created this almost Disney version character
Yeah.
of herself. It's this sort of new version of RuPaul who is a lot more family friendly.
Look, I think it's really easy for people to put people down, but it was clear in this series there was a positive tone to it, and there was a lot less bitchiness than I've seen in the past, which is great.
And RuPaul's face is made up of approximately 4 pixels smushed together.
The makeup and all the artistry, all the drag artistry in this show is just incredible to
Yeah,
watch.
indeed. Susie Wrong, what do you got for us for homework next week?
Well, next week we've got Dee's special, don't we?
What do we have? Oh, yes.
That's right. Dee's a little bit obsessed with Bridgerton on Netflix, and
Yes,
so
I
we're gonna get into Shondaland next week.
Oh
Next
my
week
God.
for Bridgerton.
I said to Susie Wrong, if you don't give it to me as homework, I'll give it to you as homework. So I'm so glad you came on board with that. Bridgerton, I've loved it. I'm 3 eps from the end, so I'm absolutely loving it. But you're not so certain, Susie, so it'll be interesting to see what you make of it.
Yeah, no, we'll have a fight. It's great.
And if you want to catch season 13 of RuPaul's Drag Race, it's only on Stan and it's available now.